Hello and welcome to Footsteps and Photos. My name's Craig and today I am in Enville in South Staffordshire. Let's go.
Today I'm in Enville, a small village in South Staffordshire in England, on the road between Stourbridge and Bridgnorth. As you can see, I'm starting the walk at the local church. This is St Mary's Church and it stands on the ridge above the village. The church's original tower was taken down in 1871 and the current ornate tower was built by Sir George Gilbert Scott. He was a celebrated architect who also designed the Albert Memorial and the Midland Grand Hotel at St Pancras Station in London. Evidence of an earlier church on the site can be found in a small stone figure of Anglo-Saxon origin built into the arcading above the south aisle. The church has a Norman nave built around the year 1100 and a transitional chancel built by Roger de Birmingham in the late 13th century. And despite extensive restorations in the 18th and 19th centuries, the older distinguishing features remain in the church. The earliest recorded name of the village was Efnefeld, which was the name stated in the Domesday Book of 1086. The name comes from Old English meaning smooth or level field. Until the late 18th century, the name Enville was spelt in a number of different ways, including Evanfield, Enfeld, Enville, or Enfield. According to a story in the Stourbridge News in 2022, a researcher investigating long-forgotten graves of members of the Knights Templar believes that 3 of the graves in the grounds of St Mary's were those of Templar Knights. The Knights Templar was a medieval organisation of devout Christians whose function was to protect travellers from Europe while they visited sites in the Holy Land. They were a wealthy, powerful and mysterious order that has fascinated historians and the public for centuries. Tales of the Knights Templar, their financial and banking acumen, their military prowess and their work on behalf of Christianity during the Crusades still circulate throughout modern culture. An article on the church website states, While the Church Council is yet to be convinced of the accuracy of these claims, we are delighted that people are showing an interest in our unique and historic church.
So that was St Mary's Church, and now we're heading down the hill into the village itself, and we'll be looking at the War Memorial, the Cat, which is the local pub, and heading down into Enville Hall.
Here we have Enville Forge, Shoeing and General Smith, R. Abbess Farrier, established 1966. Here we have the village post office and newsagents. Next door is the old village school, which was built in 1861, but unfortunately it was closed in 1968 when the authorities decided it was unsustainable to keep it open with only 27 pupils. The first mention of the Cat Inn was March 1718, when it was leased to a John Wilmot, a cordwainer and shoemaker, for 999 years. The lease described the property as that small parcel of land in Evanfield near the pond, upon which there formerly stood a dwelling house or cottage. The rent was 1 shilling or 5p a year. John Wilmot made improvements to the property, including a stable, and converted part of the house into a shop. After his death, the Cat was passed down until 1799, when the lease was sold to John Penzer, who was described as an inn holder. A document of 1837 describes the Cat Public House as having a malt house, and it was licensed to sell malt ale, beer and spirituous liquors. The tithe map of 1838 shows that the area to the side of the Cat, which is now the car park, was then a large pond. A deed of 1851 states that the inn was known as the Cat and Partridge by then. In 1925, the remaining years of the lease were sold back to Lady Catherine Gray and the Enville Estate. Enville's War Memorial was unveiled in 1924 at the junction of Bridgenorth Road and the drive to Enville Hall. The memorial commemorates the men of the village who died in the Great War and World War II. It states, "In grateful memory of our brothers who gave their lives in the Great War 1914 to 1919, with the 17 names of the local men who died." And on the other side it states, "Also in memory of the fallen 1939 to 1945, and gives the names of the 6 men who died in World War II. A plaque on the railings behind the memorial records Arthur John Mills maintained this memorial from 1946 to 2011, some 65 years. We'll now head along the drive up to Enville Hall and the cricket club. Enville Hall is a Grade II listed English Tudor country house standing in an estate of around 6,500 acres of parkland and farmland. On our right here we can see St Mary's again at the top of the ridge, so I'm just going to pop in here and see if we can get some shots looking up. As we head back onto the road here, on our right there's an old sign for Enville Hall, which I think looks great. The estate was acquired in the 15th century by the Grey family of Bradgate Park in Leicestershire. Henry Grey, 2nd Baron Grey of Groby, was made Earl of Stamford in 1628, and the 3rd Earl would then vacate Bradgate in favour of Enville. It passed down through the Earls of Stamford until the 7th Earl died without an heir in 1883, when Enville passed to Catherine Payne, the great niece of the Earl's 2nd wife. Unfortunately, the hall burnt down 2 months before her death in 1905. Nevertheless, the hall was rebuilt and passed to Catherine's son, John Foley Grey, and in turn to his daughter Eileen. She lived at the hall for 50 years before passing it on in 1999 to the Williams family, who are descendants by her 2nd marriage. Enville Cricket Club was formed in honour of the coronation of George IV in 1821. An article in the Illustrated London News reporting on a match played by the club on Lord's Cricket Ground in 1857 praised Enville's rather than the Lord's as being the finest cricket ground in the world. It pointed out how Enville's cricket ground covered 11 acres and Lord's only 7. While Enville's field was smooth as a billiard table, Lord's playing surface varied by as much as 3 feet from the horizontal line. Today the cricket field elms have gone, victims of a devastating 1976 outbreak of Dutch elm disease, but it's still a lovely setting for a game of cricket, especially with the backdrop of the Enville Hall stable block. As we've reached the hall itself now, I want to look back to the day the hall was largely destroyed by fire in November 1904. In an issue of The Sphere dated 3rd of December 1904, there's an article about the fire. It states, Enville Hall, the Staffordshire residence of Catherine, Countess of Stamford and Warrington, was destroyed on November the 25th. The fire broke out at 1 o'clock in the morning. By midday, the famous mansion was practically a ruin from end to end, but fortunately, many of the precious contents were saved, and there was no loss of life, for there was only a housekeeper and 3 maids in place. The damage is £50,000. If you've enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to see future episodes. I'll leave you with a gallery of the photos taken today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.